Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to the third session of the 11th Annual BBT Africa Conference. I am pleased to welcome a few special guests for this panel discussion that we'll be having today. And the panel discussion is on the topic of the Sankirtan mission in Africa. Now, we've just come out of a very enlivening discussion with His Holiness Bhakti Charadeshna Maharaj, who was speaking about the dawn, the spiritual dawn of Africa in our previous session. So I'm going to introduce our guests, first of all. And with our guests, I hope to delve on a few topics relating to Sankirtan in Africa and see what sort of ideas and solutions we can generate from our discussion. So first of all, I'd like to introduce His Grace Srivas Prabhu. Srivas Prabhu is from West Africa, particularly Ghana. He joined ISKCON in 1981 and was initiated by His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj in 1983. At present, he serves as the Regional Secretary for West Africa, co or Deputy GBC of the area, and member of the task for the assessment of sannyas candidates, or the sannyas ministry. He's an executive member of the Sustainable Vaishnav community as well. So we'd like to welcome Srivas Prabhu. Thank you for joining us.
Hare Krishna, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, Prabhu. Then our second panelist, so we move from West Africa, we'll go to East Africa now. I'd like to welcome Her Grace, Dvaraka Vasini Mataji. Dvaraka Vasini Mata resides in Kenya. She is one of the most active and most bubbly book distributors that we have on the continent, and many a times she is one of the leading book distributors along with her team on the continent. She is engaged in daily book distribution for the last 10 years, and she is a disciple of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Welcome, Mother Dvaraka. It's so nice to have you again.
Thank you so much, Mukundanghri Prabhu. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Transcendental Book Distribution, and all glories to our viewers today. Hare Krishna.
Right, thank you. Next, we'll go to the tip of the continent, at least where I am based, in South Africa. And I'd like to welcome His Grace Vibhu Caitanya Prabhu. Vibhu Caitanya Prabhu is a very close friend of the African BBT, and he is someone who has traveled extensively with us, spreading this Sankirtan mission through the continent. At every single conference, without fail, Vibhu Caitanya Prabhu is there delivering amazing presentations alongside very practical workshops on book distribution. He is the book minister for South Africa. He is currently the temple president of Sri Sri Radharanath Temple in Durban, and he is the disciple of His Holiness Kadambakana Swami. Welcome, Vibhu Prabhu. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hare Krishna, and thank you. I'm so happy to be with all of you once again, discussing our favorite topic, book distribution, and how to increase book distribution. So I'm happy to be here once again. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. And then last but not least, we'll jet off to a little island just off the eastern shores of Africa. We have His Grace Tamal Krsna Prabhu from Mauritius. Tamal Krsna Prabhu is a preacher and book distribution facilitator at Sri Krishna Balaram Temple and coordinator of book distribution teams in Mauritius. He's dedicated his time to empowering the youth. His home is the usual meeting place of many home programs and is open to the devotees as a base from which to solidify their service to Srila Prabhupada and the Krishna Balaram Temple. Tamal Krsna Prabhu is also a disciple of His Holiness Kadamba Kanna Swami. Tamal Krsna Prabhu, welcome, and it is such a pleasure to have you at our conference again.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much for allowing me this platform. Hare Krishna.
Jai. And there we have it. These are our panelists. I want to straight away dive into a few topics. So how I generally like to structure sort of like interviews and panel discussions is very conversational. And I want us to sort of touch on three areas of the Sankirtan mission in Africa. The first is I want us to sort of give our viewers who are tuning in from across the globe a sense of what the state and condition of Sankirtan is in your respective areas. So we'll be looking at West Africa, East Africa, and Southern Africa, which will also include Mauritius. But I just want to give devotees who've never, for instance, traveled to Ghana or to Kenya, some who've never visited South Africa or Mauritius, what is the state of book distribution in your area, and how has the previous 12 months been, including the last book marathon that we came out of in 2019. So we'll start with Srivas Prabhu for West Africa.
Hare Krishna. So, book distribution in West Africa, I can speak from previous experience because as regard this COVID period, and there's not much preaching going on, but previously, book distribution is an interesting activity in the sense that people appreciate books. People want to read books, especially books of spiritual origin. People want to know more about the soul, about life after death, about the heavenly planets, about the spiritual world, about who is God, what is our relationship with God. These topics are of great interest to many people in West Africa, especially the issue of reincarnation. People want to know, is it my only birth? Is it my first birth? Do I have some other lives to live? Why the differences in lives? Why is somebody born rich, somebody is born poor? All these questions stimulates the reading of books and therefore enhances the distribution of Srila Prabhupada's books. So I can say the book distribution in Ghana, in Nigeria, has been very wonderful in the past years, and I'm sure it will continue to be wonderful All that we need to do is to organize ourselves and plunge into this spiritual activity and make sure that everyone in these countries are given the opportunity to read Srila Prabhupada's books. Everyone is given the opportunity to know something about the spiritual world. Everyone is given the opportunity to link up with Krishna. So it is a wonderful experience. I have personally engaged in book distribution, and I have always enjoyed doing it because you will always find people who are interested. Even in schools, we find a lot of students who like to read. We find teachers who want to read. And even among business people, amongst civil servants, public servants, you always have people who want to read. So book distribution has a great potential in Africa. Actually, I always say that Africa is a sleeping giant when it comes to book distribution. All that we need to do is organize, organize, organize.
And we'll touch on the organizing. We'll touch on the organizing. Thank you for giving us an idea of the appetite for books in West Africa, Srivas Prabhu. I want to jump to Mother Dvaraka and just hear, what is it like in Kenya? What has it been like for book distribution for those of us who've never visited Nairobi, Mombasa? What's it like there?
Thank you so much for that question. Kenya is Kenyans are very receptive to Srila Prabhupada's books. And if the proof is asked, then you can see from the numbers of books that we end up doing. Though our marathon numbers are much higher than during the year, but actually, if we go out on the street, I had a friend who had come from Mauritius, and she came in 2018 to help with book distribution. And she loved it so much because on the street, you get firsthand experience and you get firsthand feedback. So you get to know what they're thinking, you get to know what they're looking for. And most of our customers who come for books are actually the ones who've read Prabhupada's book previously, and they're coming back for more. So Kenya it's actually a hub where we can do a lot more than what we are doing. What we've been doing and the numbers that we've been showing is just a tip of the iceberg. But if more devotees join in the Sankirtan and we explore the frontiers, like we've been doing mostly in Nairobi, Mombasa, and one more town or city, Kisumu, but we can actually now try and go into the upcountry towns. And as we were listening to Govardhan Prabhu in the morning, I was thinking that maybe this is where we can go with the other languages, because Nairobi is English speaking and we only do English mostly. And then for the Indian community, we have our Indian language books. But when we are thinking of upcountry folks who are there, we might go into these tribal languages. Then we have Kikuyu, Kimeru, Luo, all these languages, and we might think of translating books into these languages so that we can reach to so many people. So it's really wonderful. And I would like to invite anybody who wants to come and see how it is on the streets of Nairobi. I'll tell you one thing and I'll guarantee you'll not want to stop book distribution. It is fantastic.
Trust me, for anyone listening, if you are in Nairobi and around Mother Dvaraka Vasini, you will go on book distribution because she's just so enthusiastic about it. It's infectious. thank you for letting us know what it's like and what the energy is in Kenya. Vibhu Caitanya Prabhu, you're the temple president of the largest temple in not just South Africa, but Southern Africa. What's book distribution been like over the last 12 months in South Africa? And what are your personal experiences on some of the successes that you've had?
Well, book distribution has been increasing over the last 12 months, we could say, pre-COVID-19. And we found that many devotees from our congregation are really busy and with work and family life and could not really go out and book distribution. So with the help of Shisheka Prabhu, we started the monthly Sankirtan Festival, where we asked devotees to come and spend a few hours once a month to go out and book distribution, and made it into a festival with good prasadam, enthusiastic spirit, and everything that goes around with festival, lots of organization and lots of planning as well. And we had over 100 devotees come, over once a month to distribute books. And it wasn't so much about the mass book distribution, but rather it was getting that energy out there, let us go and let us distribute books, even if it's one book. And it's been really, really successful. But last year, with the help of His Holiness Brihad Bhagavad Maharaj, he engaged those devotees who could not go out and book distribution with a sponsorship program. And through that, we distributed over 30,000 kinds of self-realizations with the help of the book BBT Africa team as well, just in the space of 2 or 3 months. I think it was July till September. And 30,000 books out went just like that. And then after getting the sponsorship, then came the distribution to schools or hospitals, old age homes, and having programs with that as well. So it was really, really a nice spirit. And we're planning to double what we did in 2019 and 2020. But unfortunately, we stuck with a different situation at the moment, which we're trying to overcome.
Yeah. I think we're all under, the conditions of adjustment at the moment, but I know you're one of the best book distribution organizers that we have. So it's very inspiring to hear the activities that have been going on and the grassroots inspiration that's taking place in Durban and other places of South Africa because of your efforts. So now we'll just hear what's happening on this tiny island of Mauritius from Tamal Krsna Prabhu, who is extensively involved with the youth. Tamal Krsna Prabhu, could you let us know how you've been getting the youth involved with book distribution, this important service in Srila Prabhupada's mission?
Hare Krishna. So actually, we are trying to push book distribution since a long time in Mauritius. Actually, books are going out, that's true, but some extra effort is needed. And as the youth or the future generation of our movement, so by the grace of my spiritual master, we decided, to engage the youth in book distribution. So it was not easy because normally youth are not really convinced to take a book to go out like that. Just take a book and go out to do book distribution. So we started with some training program. And then it was amazing. It was really amazing because we thought that it will be quite difficult for us to get involved in this service, but we saw that when we went out, the book started going. I can give you an example. We used to do harinams. Lots of harinams in Mauritius. So we went to marketplaces, etc. So one time we were in the market and we gave a vegetable seller We gave a vegetable seller book, and what he did, he took the book, he gave it to his friend, and he said, okay, pay for the book. And then he bought one for him. So it's quite easy to do books in Mauritius, but our focus is more in getting the big books out, because the big books are the most important books to go out. So we are working on big books, which since the BBT Africa 2018, which was held in Mauritius, we saw that many big books are going out, even sets are going out, not so fast, but slowly it started going out. So that's very nice to see. And also I wanted to add something, like we actually having an increase in book distribution, in book distributors, and also book distribution team in Mauritius. Like since 2018, we have at least 5 to 6 book distribution team who are engaged. Yeah, that's going on.
Yeah, that's such fantastic news. Of course, we were in Mauritius 2 years ago in 2018, where this was a fledgling little idea and an effort that you were putting together. And now it's fantastic to hear 2 years later, you have at least 5 book distribution teams composed of youth going out and distributing books. Congratulations on your efforts, and that's such an inspiring update to hear, actually. So I want to bring us to the present moment, and we've all kind of alluded to it a little. You know, the current global pandemic that we're facing. All of us, without exception, have been put under some sort of lockdown condition. Society has in some way or other been halted. And that includes our ability to actually go out and give people books, physical books, in their hands. So the question I want us to discuss at the moment is, how have you been coping with book distribution during this period? And what are some of the ideas from how you've been coping that we can share amongst each other? Because I think these panel discussions, and of course the BBT Africa conference, is essentially about that, about the generation of ideas to increase Sankirtan. So I think I'll start this time with Vibhu Caitanya Prabhu, and just hear what's been happening in Durban in South Africa. What efforts are you going through for book distribution during this period?
Well, during this period, it's been really challenging, but we're thinking of ways on how we can increase our book distribution. Unfortunately, we can't be like the New York Harinam team who are just distributing sets and posting sets all over North America, and they're seeing an increase in their book distribution during this period, which is quite remarkable. We tried it. Our postal service is really slow though, and it doesn't really work. It's quicker that we get a devotee just to go and drop off the books, which is much easier. So we've come up with an online bookshop or online store where one can order a set of books, and we get a responsible devotee in our congregation to go and deliver those books. When I say responsible, I mean make sure that everything is sanitized, your hands are washed, and there's no contact during the delivery. And it's been really slow, but I'm encouraging those devotees who used to come out a monthly Sankirtan that whenever they're going out for essentials, take their books with them and drop it off in people's shopping carts, you know, and distribute books like that, which some are finding some success. So always have books with you. That's the first key. To always have books, no matter where you're going or what you're doing. Always have books with you in your bag or while you're traveling in your car, whatever it is. Always have books with you.
Thank you, Vibhu Prabhu. Let's go to you, Mother Dwaraka. What's it been like? What are the challenges, and have you seen any sort of victories? Has there been any light at the end of this tunnel?
I'll start with personally what I've been doing for the past 3 months or so. As you know, Nairobi just came out of a lockdown on Tuesday, just this Tuesday. So for the past 3 months, it's been very peaceful for me. We haven't been going out or doing much for book distribution, but this is a time what I was meditating on was, and if I can explain myself, is you can't have soldiers fighting all the time. There are times the soldiers come back to base and you sit down and you strengthen yourself. So I took this period of lockdown or this normal new, that it's time for me to strengthen my sadhana, to strengthen myself for the next round. So when we go out again, you know, it's going to be harder. It's not going to get any easier. So I used this time to read more, to chant more, to meditate more on what can be done. And when I heard about Vaisheshika Prabhu's marathon, I was so, you know, I was really excited, but I didn't know how to go about it in Kenya. Honestly, I had no idea how to go about it. And I'm looking forward to the session tomorrow so we can get ideas of how to go online. But at the same time, I've been seeing that a lot of devotees are online. They're giving classes online. They're giving out association online. So this is an idea where some of our devotees from the temple, they've been giving classes online so they can broadcast for us for book distribution. They can put out these books for us. I have a devotee who sends an inspirational audio to about 1,000 people every day, or 1,000 devotees. And so this is what I've been meditating on, that if we can just have one devotee reaching out to 3 people, those are 3 books distributed. Yeah. So this is what I want to work on for the next, maybe for the part of this year, whatever is remaining of this year, that every devotee reach out to at least 3 people and distribute 3 books, just 3 books. So this is one way of going about book distribution. The other thing was I was meditating on was Bhadra Purnima, which is coming somewhere in September. So that's something that I want to work on as well from now, that as we build ourselves, like I was talking about myself, 3 months of personal meditation, strengthening myself up. At the same time, we also have to strengthen our internal, like the community. So I thought I'd take this opportunity for Bhadra Purnima and reach out to devotees who don't have Bhagavatam sets. And I also reach out to devotees who can donate for this Bhagavatam sets. So 1 devotee for 1 devotee. So this is something that we will work between August and between now and Bhadra Purnima. So it's 1 step at a time that we do with the Bhagavatam sets, and also reach out to at least 3 people in our area. So if every devotee, we have about a congregation of about 300. So if every devotee was to reach out to just 3 people, 3 new people, they will reach out to at least 900 people. Jeez. So that's what my meditation is.
That's fantastic. You know, sometimes we think of innovation as something that is a blow your mind idea, but sometimes it's as beautiful as simplicity itself. Like you're saying, it's also a period for us to turn inwards, strengthen ourselves, and most of all, you know, I like what you're doing with the Bhagavatam sets, distributing them to our own devotees, those who are practicing, who don't have those sets. So that's fantastic. And Tamal, Krishna Prabhu, how has this period been like on the island of Mauritius? And have you been severely affected by the lockdown conditions? Can you explain some of that a little?
Well, the pandemic, the lockdown here was like really big challenge because everything was closed. Like no, you cannot like post something. Like if someone want a book, at least you take the postage service and you can deliver books. Nothing was working out, so we were thinking what to do. This is a big question, what to do, because we cannot just like sit and see like that. So we started investing in studying Prabhupada books. We started investing our time in studying in Prabhupada books. And then what happened? We thought that why not we start online classes on Zoom platform. So what we did, we invite our friends, non-devotees, and we told them that you have nothing to do at home because there's nothing to do. You just have to wear a mask if you are outside, but you're not allowed to. And what we did is that we started some online classes and invited many guests. So in the process, what we did, we distributed 3 Krishna book, 5 Bhagavad Gita, 30 small books just by online programs. But the books were delivered after the lockdown because it was not possible to do during the lockdown period. But it was a big challenge, especially for Mauritius. It was really big challenge.
Thank you for that. And finally, Srivas Prabhu, I know you're currently you're still based in India, or are you back in West Africa? Either case, how have the lockdown conditions in place affected book distribution, whatever book distribution is taking place in West Africa?
Yes, as you said, I am in India at the moment. The lockdown caught up with us in India, in Vrindavan. So we're still in Vrindavan, waiting for the international flights to resume so that we can return to West Africa. But in Ghana in particular, the devotees have informed me how it was impossible for them to do any type of public preaching, distribution, cultivation, and any activity outside the temple. It was very difficult for them. But then, before the lockdown, they had started some online radio program from the temple, and it wasn't very active. They were doing that online preaching, but it wasn't attracting many people. But during the lockdown period, all of a sudden, the audience increased. And so they're getting up to 1,000 people hooking onto the radio station, online radio station, and listening to the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. And so it has opened a new gate of preaching online. And so they are trying to use that avenue to encourage reading of Srila Prabhupada's books, to encourage distribution of Prabhupada's books, and to encourage any type of preaching. So that is what they're doing right now. Every Sunday they have online radio program and thousands of people participate, and then they take numbers, they take contacts, and they reach the people. And so it has opened up this opportunity to find other ways of preaching. So besides reading, the devotees are also, just as others are saying, everyone is trying to read. It's like the knockdown is actually meant for our internal development.
Yeah.
Many devotees across the world are using this opportunity to study Srila Prabhupada's books, to chant more rounds, to internalize the practice of Krishna consciousness. And that is good for us because it makes us strong. It makes us prepared for the job ahead of us. But it's also giving us an opportunity to look at other angles, other avenues of preaching, instead of just the physical contact. Now we can use online, we can use Zoom, we can use different things to preach. So I can say that this COVID-19 has actually given us the opportunity to look at other ways of preaching. And the more we develop into these areas, the better. Even when the period of this infection pandemic is over, it will be an addition to the physical way of preaching. So whatever is happening, it has some good effect. First, the devotees are studying Srila Prabhupada's books very seriously. Second, it is giving us an opportunity to look into other areas, how we can possibly preach and reach out to people. And so it is an addition to what we already have.
Thank you, Prabhu. And thank you all around. You know, there's the saying that necessity is the mother of all invention.
Yeah.
And this period has necessitated us being inventive. And it's amazing to hear from all sides the different ideas that have come up, both reflective and those that are externally oriented as well. I just want to make you all aware just how we're getting flooded by so many questions from our Facebook stream online over here, and I'm also receiving over here in my personal stream. So we're going to have to leave time for those questions. I hope all the devotees that are watching get a sense of what it's like in various parts of the continent, the challenges and also the triumphs that they face with regards to book distribution and so on. So this is what I want us to, where I want us to take the discussion now. Forums like this, the BBT Africa conference, was founded on the principle of cross-pollination of ideas so that we can move the African Sankirtan mission forward. Now, one of the long-term missions that we have, now this is the 11th conference, so we're starting a new decade of these conferences. One of the long-term missions that we have is to make Africa the leading book distribution hub in the world. And we say that boldly and with full confidence. Why do we say that? Let's look at a few statistics. Africa has the fastest growing young population in the world. By the time, by 2030, Africa will have the largest youth population on the planet. And by the year 2040, 70% of the world's workforce will be provided by Africa in terms of the workforce, in terms of the age range, those who are aged between 18 and 45. 70% of the global workforce will be provided by Africa. So in terms of the untapped potential, as Srivas Prabhu put it, a sleeping giant, this is what we have. So this is the next stage of our discussion that we'll attempt to navigate through. We won't be able to answer all the questions right here and right now, but I think it's important that we begin to discuss these topics. And where better to start off this discussion than with our youngest panelist, Tamal, Krsna Prabhu, because this question is directly related to youth, and you seem to be the kingpin on youth. So what are your ideas? Now we're looking, as Srivas Prabhu has mentioned, that these tools that we're acquiring now, not only the internal strength from reading and studying Srila Prabhupada's books, but these new innovative online ideas supplement and add on to our traditional methods. How do you think we can move book distribution forward? What ideas can we begin to bring to the table of book distribution? Because the world has completely changed. That's something we have to accept. And we're either going to stagnate or rise with the occasion, as it is said. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, what to say? If you see, like Mauritius, like Srivas Prabhu said, that we are sleeping. Africa is sleeping, you know. But if you see, really, the youth have a lot of potentials, and we are working. Especially, we have our how to say, we have the place where we have to do books, but we don't see them. Actually, we don't see them. So when I got the request to come here on the platform, so I got a topic. What are the initiatives? So I started meditating with my friends and all the devotees, what to do. Then we come up with something like is so big and we don't see it. Like Mauritius is a tourist country. It's a tourist country. So statistically, we see that Mauritius has a population of 1.3 million people. But if we see how many tourists comes, of course, right now it's not the case. But the marketing for bringing tourists to Mauritius is so much, you cannot imagine. So much. So we come up with an idea of distributing books with all tourists who comes to Mauritius, because its statistics shows it's 1.5 million tourists come to Mauritius all around the year. It's more than the Mauritian population. It's more than the Mauritian population. So it's a big scope. We see a big scope in doing books with them. But of course, there's lots of challenge in it. Our main challenge, which we will speak later, I think so, we will speak later. It's like we need French books, because almost all the tourists comes from France, Reunion Island. So it's a big challenge. And also we have this Shastradhan project, which we want to implement here in Mauritius. We also have idea of putting a book table during cultural festival. We have big, because Mauritius is a multicultural country, we have big festivals. Likely almost every month there's 2 big festivals. So we can use this platform to do this. And also we are planning to put little library stands all around the island for Prabhupada books. And also we have the youth segment, like preaching in the universities academics. Yeah, we are planning to do these things.
That's fantastic. I really like the idea of working with established institutions, because with that there's already strength and structure in place and a market in place, and it's just about tapping into that. I want us to dive into a few questions here, and these questions are related to this discussion right now that we have about moving the ball forward with regards to Sankirtan in this new world that we are living in. And I'll pose this question to Vibhu Prabhu. Someone on Facebook has asked the question, what role do you think ebooks have to play with regards to preaching? And how do you think it will change book distribution as we know it? So I think you just have to unmute yourself, Vibhu.
We've discussed this topic in previous BBT conferences as well, the role of ebooks. And well, although there was an increase in the electronic book sales, there's studies that say that it's declining at the moment, and that a hardbound book or a soft copy book is always going to be most valuable, and there's always an increase in that in those types of sales. So that's where we see it going, that these books, Prabhupada's books, are the law books of mankind, and it's going to save humanity. And this is why this message of giving it out to everyone is really, really important. So both will play a role, but more so a physical copy.
Okay. And do you think, just to sort of like probe on that question a little more, obviously with restricted, as we've termed, social distancing, we see that, you know, we're stuck at home or stuck wherever, and we have limited movement. Are there any ideas now, specifically looking at ebooks, are there any ideas that we could perhaps begin to work with? Has your temple begun to work with the idea of distributing via electronic and digital channels?
Well, not as yet, but it's something that we're exploring. But for now, as the other devotees have mentioned earlier, it's time to drink the nectar first, you know, and to build ourselves up spiritually again, so that when we come out of this, we are ready to go out full force and distribute books by the millions. And so that's also that has to be part of the strategy as well, that we read the books as well.
Okay, thank you. There's another question here, and it's always a question that comes up as well. And I'm going to throw this question to Mother Dvaraka. And it's a question on, it's an age-old question about the affordability of books. And, you know, at previous conferences, we've dealt with the topic about how Prabhupada's formula for Africa, books are sold to temple at cost and so on. But now that the world is in the state that it is in right now, and we see the sort of propagation and pushing of digital books, and not only that, but using delivery services for physical books, with all those additional costs incurred and stuff like that, is there a way you think that we can make books affordable for the common man on the street, the people we want to reach in those out of big city areas, as you pointed out earlier on?
It's actually a very individual thing. There are people who are looking for these books and they would pay for it. They'll pay the real price. And then there are people that we're reaching out to who don't know the book, they don't know the contents of the book, and they would not want to pay the price. because you're preaching to them, you're trying to give them some information about the book, but they're not really willing to take it. They might just take it to read, to know, because they're curious, but they're not really ready to pay for it. So then as a book distributor, you're left there thinking, should I give it out or should I not give it out? So what should we do? Now, what happens, like in Nairobi, what we do is we don't tag the books. We don't put a price on the book. We ask for a donation. Now, whatever donation that a person would give, we accept. So the book is free, but we ask for a donation. Now that helps both ways. A person might give more money for the book, and that helps to give another person that book a bit cheaper, because somebody might give, if I give an example, 50 shillings for a book, and somebody might give us 500 for the same book. So now we have extra money where we can help those who don't have enough money. So it's one person with the other, and that's how we balance it out. Now, making the books affordable, again, that's where Shastra Dan comes in. Like if I was talking about upcountry, I'm sure the first time when we venture out upcountry, people might not even want to take these books. So then how do you approach them? You know, how do there's a marketing strategy. When a company launches its product, what do? You know, they always have a sale or they have a free product. Go try this, and then you come back and buy it. So we should also be ready to give out a few, not many, but a few as a marketing strategy. Like, this is promotion. We're promoting this. Take this, read it. If you like it, come back to us.
And whilst you're still there, there's an interesting question that also came up. How do you, and I know you go out on book distribution almost every day.
Yes.
When you have the chance, how do you remain motivated when you go on book distribution and get rejected?
The service itself motivates me. The people who reject us and the people who love us. So the service itself is motivating. There'll be somebody who comes and says, thank you so much. I was looking for this book. Finally, I get it. Of course, there'll be somebody who would come and say, what are you Indians doing on the street? Or what do you think? Or what is this Hindu? You know, the most annoying thing is when they open a book and they see Sanskrit, they call that Hindu. So, oh, you want to give us your religion, or you want to give us Hinduism, yeah? So that's there. But as soon as you explain to them, they're ready to listen. So it's also how we project ourselves. Instead of getting annoyed, instead of feeling unmotivated, you take that opportunity to preach to them. You take that opportunity to talk to them. When I go out there, though, I look like an ambassador for book distribution, but I'm just another fellow human being. I regard myself as a Kenyan, just they're part and parcel. You know, I'm part of this community, the Kenyan community. So when I'm out there talking to them, I'll be like, my dear brother, see, this is this language, and a language does not mean a religion. Kiswahili does not mean this religion. In fact, Kiswahili is a mixture of so many different tribal languages. So this is how you explain to them, and they really appreciate. They really appreciate, and after that, they come about.
Thank you. That's, we forget
itself. Just continue doing, for those who think, no, I can't, continue distributing books. That will come, the enthusiasm will come with the books you do. Prabhupada is there with you, standing just next to you.
Yeah, perseverance conquers. And I love the fact that you say, don't forget the human element of book distribution. So Srivas Prabhu, another question from our online audience. And you're someone who has done book distribution for decades now. What do you say to someone when you're trying to distribute books? What are the secret words that you whisper into someone's ear and get them to take a book?
Well, generally, I ask questions as a way of stimulating their thinking. Do you know who you are? Do you know where you come from? Are you interested in extraterrestrial life? Are you interested in the life beyond this world? Do you know why you are in this world? Do you know why you are going through so much trouble? And do you have a solution to the problems of this world? I normally prick their intelligence by asking questions. And this way, most of the times, people respond to such questions. Do you like to die? Do you want to overcome death? Do you know where you want to go from here? Questions of this nature always stimulates their thinking, and you always find people responding to such questions. So I normally try to stimulate them to think about the unknown, and it pays off. It works in most cases. People take interest, and then they ask more questions, and this way we are able to hand over the book to them. So we have to stimulate their thinking. We have to stimulate their intellectual potential, and this will make them ask questions. It will make them to think, and eventually they will begin to reason, and they will eventually take a book. So that is my way of approaching, especially the intellectual class of people. As soon as I know that you are educated and you can reason, you can think, I would pose a very deep question that will stimulate your thinking.
Thank you so much, Srivas Prabhu. We're getting inundated by so many comments and questions. I'm going to read a few, and we'll tackle maybe 2 or 3 more questions. If you can indulge me with an extra 10 minutes of your time, because the devotees are really inspired by this discussion that we're having. The first I'm reading here on our Zoom webinar is a comment. Suggestion for Bhadra Purnima coming up during COVID-19. If someone takes a Srimad Bhagavatam set, they can have a virtual installation program with spiritual masters and senior devotees, or an installation program in COVID-free countries. Okay, so we already hear our audience is thinking up ideas and throwing them into the pot. Thank you so much for that. There's a question here directed to Tamal Prabhu, and you can think about it, and we'll circle back to you for an answer. It reads, I wonder if Tamal Prabhu has an update on plans to distribute French books and translations to Creole. Okay, so just think about that question whilst I try to read through some of these comments. The next one reads, we see all religions investing massively into African outreach, what is ISKCON's and BBT's strategy to increase book distribution in Africa? Okay, so I think that's something we've been speaking about in general, how to increase book distribution in Africa. Next comment reads, I've been watching the whole session thus far. It's truly inspiring, thank you. On behalf of the GBC Strategic Planning Support Unit, we would be honored to offer the service of our team to BBT Africa. Jai, thank you so much. What wonderful support that we're having from the Strategic Planning Committee from the GBC. Thank you so much. And this is what this is about. It's about coming together, breaking the boundaries of our regions and finding ideas that we can share with each other. And unfortunately, I can't go through all the comments and questions because our panelists do have like a limited time, but I'll come back to you, Tamal Prabhu, with that question. And maybe just direct one more question to Vibhu Prabhu. A question that comes from our Facebook audience here. Do you think that one should dress in devotee attire when going on book distribution? Do you think dress has an impact on how people react to book distributors? So that's a question directed to you, Vibhu Prabhu. But first, let's circle back to Tamal Prabhu and hear what he has to say about French books, their distribution, and Creole translation in Mauritius.
Yes, first of all, we would love to distribute French book because we don't get them. That's the biggest problem. We don't get the French books. And despite many demands, it's very difficult for us to get French book. I don't know why, but because Mauritius, as I said, in the tourist sector, that we are trying to go ahead with this project. So we saw that almost 500,000 tourists come from France and Réunion Island. So they are the mass, and to distribute books with them, of course, it's French book. We cannot go with English book with them. So the problem is we don't get them. I don't know how to get them because this has been a big discussion since many times. We see that we are trying to get the books, but if we see like getting books from Bangladesh, it's very expensive for Mauritius because it's like one book 2 euros, like 3 euros. So it's almost over 100 rupees in Mauritius, and it's like very expensive, like for people to buy them. So we are trying to get them. We need help from, of course, from BBT Africa to see how we can get the books because we need them. That's the most important point is that we need them. Actually, we need also like German books because sometime when we go to the beach, we try to distribute books. Normally we get Chinese people, German people, and French people. These 3 languages, and English is okay, but we would like to get these books. And concerning the translation of Creole books, we are planning. We would love because some devotees are already working on translating, like getting the idea to translate Bhagavad Gita into Creole. But the main thing is that, like, there was this On the Way to Krsna book translated into Creole. But the thing is that it's more difficult to read Creole, even for the Creole people, than English. So it's a big thing, but sometimes it works. It works because when they see that it's written in the local language, so they're enthusiastic just to take it. Yeah, they're enthusiastic to take it. Sometimes I sit and read this book I read this book literally every time I read it. But we are planning to translate the Bhagavad Gita as it is into Creole.
Okay, thank you so much. And it's such an interesting point, and I understand that His Grace Srivas Prabhu had to leave us. So I just wanted to thank him in absentia. But back to your point, Tamal Prabhu, yes, it's such a recurring phenomena that we see in Africa that, for instance, I am a Zulu-speaking person. That's my mother tongue, and but it's easier for me to read English, and I don't mind listening to a Zulu audiobook, you know. So that's why the focus on our audiobook strategy has really been ramped up this year, and so on. So let's go back to you, Vibhu Prabhu, and that question is how I dress. Is that a consideration that we should have when we're going out on book distribution?
Well, my suggestion is that it depends on the market. It depends where you are distributing books. For instance, if you go into a mall without permission, it's very difficult to do it in dhoti and devotional clothes because you'll be caught out in 2 minutes. You know, there's cameras all over, there's security men all over. So that's not practical. And in instances like that, then we say go in non-devotional clothes. So it just depends on your market. But at the same time, when we do distribute books in devotional clothes, say out in the open streets when there's really no restrictions, then it's these clothes are protecting us as well. They're giving us some shelter as well. So that's the whole thing, because when we're out there, the material energy is so difficult, it's so challenging as well, and we need some protection from our own minds as well. And these clothes just remind us that, hey, I'm a devotee. I don't follow in this way or that way. You know, we follow the regulative principles and we chant Hare Krishna. So the protection is there.
Okay. Thank you, Prabhu. That I think was very sage and practical advice. So I just want to wrap this up, and we've had I think a very nice panel discussion. A lot has come from it. How I want to wrap this up is with one question, and you can each have a shot at it, and that's the question of what's the action point we can take from this, because I'm someone, and BBT Africa is an organization that's driven by practical action. You know, book distribution is practical devotional service. So one of the things, and maybe I can start and then we can share the ball here, is what I'd like to see is more regular contact amongst all of us from various regions in the continent. A Zoom session, a virtual conference call, maybe every quarter or something like that, where we sit down and exchange ideas. Because when we are looking at a problem from the same point of view all the time with the same eyes, we sometimes don't see a new solution. And forums like this give us the opportunity to bring in new eyes and a fresh vision. So I'd like to see that. And of course, on top of that action point, we had Shubhananda Prabhu from the GBC Strategic Planning Support Team. Again, that's active support that's been given to the African Preaching Mission. So Shubhananda Prabhu, we'd love to get in contact with you, discuss further ideas on how we can make Africa the leading book distribution hub in the world in the next 10 years. So yeah, those are my takeaways and action points, more regular meetings outside the conference. But let's start with Tamal Prabhu, and then we'll go to Vibhu Prabhu and Mother Dvaraka Vasini. What action points would you like to see out of this conference, Tamal Prabhu?
Well, as you said, I was just thinking about that. As you said, regular contact among us will help a lot because my experience, because I was not part of these discussions since some years, so I saw that since 2018 things had become bigger. So if we keep regular contacts, we can help each other in increasing the number of books which can go out. Like every time we can keep in touch.
Right. Thank you so much, Prabhu. And Vibhu Caitanya Prabhu, your thoughts, your action points, what would you like to see come out of this?
Well, just to add to yours and Tamal Prabhu's is, as Shekhar Prabhu always says, you know, let's encourage the heck out of everyone, you know, always encourage the devotees. So right now we encourage the devotees to study Srila Prabhupada's books. As they study Srila Prabhupada's books, then naturally they'll want to preach it as well. So let's get people reading once again. Remember, Prabhupada wanted us to read for 90 minutes, 1.5 hours. So let's see if we can do that. Do a half an hour, just read one verse a day or one page a day, something, you know, because naturally you'll be awakened and enlivened to distribute that knowledge that you have read afterwards.
Yeah, that's such a fantastic point. Let's get people reading. Such a very valuable and practical point. Thank you for that action point, Vibhu Prabhu. And finally, our big book distribution mother and queen, Mother Dvaraka Vasini. What are your action points? What should we take out of this discussion that we've had?
I completely agree with you. What you say that we should have some contact or some meeting, and we can discuss, we can share our realizations, we can share our Sankirtan stories, which are very inspiring. As we all know, Vaisheshika Prabhu has always inspired us, and he's always given us lots of tips on how to do books. At the same time, we should not forget that we're in Africa, and we have to Africanize these tips that he gives. So we also have to look from the African viewpoint, from the African point, how can we use his strategy, Africanize it, and then use it here. So that's what I think. And just Mukunda, I just wanted to add this on your youth. You had thrown a question on youth. How should we go about it? I have 3 principles. That is, what are their needs, their interests, and their concerns? So NIC, needs, interest, and concerns. If we can get that, then we'll know what they're looking for, and we can deliver that. Because Prabhupada books have everything they need. Their interest is there, and their concerns are also given in the books. So we just need to formularize a way of giving that to them.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you all for this discussion. It's really been enlivening, and I hope that we can have just more regular contact. And just to reiterate for everyone who has been watching, you know, the principles or the action points that we're going to take out of this are, you know, regular contact for us to organize more and to share inspiration more. The second action point is encouraging everyone to read. Spend a little bit of time every single day reading. Okay. The third action point is to tailor the principles of book distribution that are there. These best practice, these global best practices, especially from Vaisheshika Prabhu, tailor them to the African continent and specific regions in Africa. And lastly, I think that was a valuable point on youth, Mother Dvaraka Vasini, is when we're formulating strategies for youth and engaging them in Sankirtan, we need to understand what are their needs, what are their interests, and what are their concerns. So those are the 4 action points that we can take out. I will be in contact with Srivananda Prabhu from the GBC strategic planning team, and let's see how we can galvanize together and really make Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya's mercy present for everyone on the African continent. And with that, thank you. Thank you to everyone who joined in. Stay tuned for our next session starting at 4 p.m. a discussion with the author of Wise Love, Mother Pranada, for those who are writers, those who just love Krishna conscious stories. This is what this conference is about as well. It's about both the author's perspective and the Krishna conscious story. So tune in for that. That promises to be amazing. So that starts at 4 p.m. Central African time. You can reference from wherever you're watching in the world. And all glories to Srila Prabhupada.